Hello, ladies and gentle dudes. How many notes does it take a song before you really recognize it in your brain? Okay, let's do a little test. All right, da da, got it. Da 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 da, getting there. Da 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 da. What is that? ABCs. No, see, you thought I was gonna be Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. It's not. You ever wonder why some songs get stuck in your head while others don't? Well, welcome back. With Vitality Social Network, I'm your musical mentor, Credex. This is going to be our third session. Today, we're going to break down songs. We're going to talk about melodies, harmonies, which are the most important things to a song. Okay. We're going to start with melodies first because that is really what draws your attention to a song, what catches your attention, and what sticks it in your head. Okay. So we're going to talk about how harmonies also support the melodies. So as I said, first we're going to start with the harmonies, and then, the melodies, and then we're going to work on building it up and teach you what you can do with that. Okay. Hold on. Yeah, Twinkle Twinkle. Melon almost got it. But so as I said, big thing. Hold on, my screen is messing up. Sorry, guys. Give me a second on that. Wah, wah. What the heck is going on? There we go. And we're back. All right. So what I'm going to do, first of all, I'm going to sing you a little melody like I did. I have my phone somewhere. Where did that go? Where is my phone? Lost it. Let me do a little trick. And it's not right. Found it. The day is saved, my friends. All right. So we're going to talk about melodies, okay? So another fun thing about melodies is it's not just about the melody, it's also about the rhythm of the melody. So let's say, for example, Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, which is obviously what I was going for with the ABCs, but you got da 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 da. But let's say you take it and you're like da 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 da. So, it gives it more of a different vibe, which is pretty much a different section that we'll probably talk about later. That's more of a drum thing than, a melody thing. But either way, you got, let's take an instrument, right? You got right here. Oh, that was bad. So that's coming from different places, but it still has the same, obviously different instruments have different feels. I prefer guitar. The sound of a guitar to me is beautiful, but you're not playing on a keyboard. Usually pianos are really nice too. But I've always found that vocal melodies are really what brings the passion and the emotion into it. You can play a really good, I can't say that directly because there have been some really good, guitar stuff. Like guitar solos are really what would be the epitome of emotional, passionate melodies for me in a guitar sense. Because, you can hear some guitar solos like, Sweet Child of Mine. Like that's something you recognize anywhere. And it's a beautiful solo. It's great. Also, Hotel California has a great one. There's a lot of those that kind of work the same way. There's also guitars that are pretty simple. There's songs that, for example, this band, a lot of people give them a lot of, crap for not being a great musical band, but you take one note, dun-dun-dun, and you immediately know that Smells Like Teen Spirit. Dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun-dun-dun, So something as simple as one note can be played in a way that can stick in your head. Okay, melodies are really the part of the song that catches your attention. One other thing that is fantastic and amazing to me is some artists have very specific melodies, and even if they don't do it all the time, you can tell. For example, The Weeknd. There's a song that I don't know if anyone knows Drake. Take Care. That album was actually pretty much stolen from The Weeknd. When The Weeknd met Drake, he pretty much took an entire Weeknd album and said, "That's going to be mine now." And there's one song specifically, I think it might be Crew Love or maybe Take Care, but there's a part where he says, "I can see it in your eyes, you're angry. Na, 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 na. Mad because he ain't like me. Yeah, you're mad because somebody ever did it like me, like me." And that, like me, I knew immediately that's a Weeknd melody. That's something that he used to do a lot on his trilogy when he did his first what are they called? Mixtapes, right? But now the Weeknd has basically created his own melody that is in every song. So hold on, let's see if I can find it. Hold on. Sorry. There's here. Whatever, I'll just sing it. It goes da na 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 da na 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 da na 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 da na 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 na. He plays literally 4 notes in every song that's exactly the same. If you listen to any of Drake's, any of the Weeknd's new stuff, it's da na 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 or da na 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 or da na 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 na. Those 4 notes. Yeah, Drake actually did steal a lot of his music. That's why the Drake and Weeknd beef kind of started. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of the OVO XO movement that Drake was all about for a while. Drake is OVO, which is October's Very Own. That's his company. And the Weeknd has always done XO. Drake basically discovered the Weeknd and decided that he liked his music, tried to get him to sign with him, started this whole OVO XO where they were going to take over and everything. And then Drake basically was like, hey, this album that you have, I'm going to take it. So he took literally almost an entire album that the Weeknd had wrote and made Take Care. If you've ever heard the Take Care album, he made that whole album was basically the Weeknd's work. And you can, if you have an ear for the Weeknd, as somebody that listened to the Weeknd from start, when he first started to now a huge fan of the Weeknd, I could hear the difference, and I could hear how Drake sings compared to how the Weeknd sings, and you can tell that he definitely took that from him. So things like that. There's a lot of other artists also. Anybody in the chat, is there any artists that you listen to that immediately, if you hear them or something, if you hear a song that's by them, you would immediately recognize them? Or, any songs that kind of like immediately catch your attention from the beginning of that song? Leave something in the comments if you're here in the chat. If not, drop it in the comments when the video posts. But let's see. I learned recently Paul McCartney melodies for his music. And then I can't really read. For some reason, my chat's cutting off. Hold on, let me fix that. Ask me if I do this every day. I said, oh, I gotta be careful how much I'm singing because they're probably gonna take me down. I'm sure the Weeknd's gonna be like, hey, that guy sang my song on his thing. Because I'm so popular, I learned recently that Paul McCartney sang some of the bass melodies for his music, and then I guess mixed it to sound like bass. That's actually pretty awesome. I didn't know that. That's something we're gonna talk about too, as far as harmonies and stuff go. So I'm trying to stretch this. I know you guys can see the chat, but for some reason it's cutting off some of the words. Don't know why it's doing that. So I'm just gonna have to. I hope this is cool with you guys. I'm just gonna put the chat up there and do that so I can see it. But yeah, so that's a big thing about melodies. Harmonies. Michael Jackson. Yes, Michael Jackson is definitely someone that, one thing I've talked about it before, but one thing that's brilliant about Michael Jackson is he actually used to write the instrumentals and the percussion in his songs with his vocals. That's why you hear a lot of songs where he's like, does like he does his beatboxing, because when he writes his songs, he teaches whoever's writing the song for him, like the drummer, how the song needs to sound drum wise, because he would beatbox into a recorder to make his drum sounds, and then we'd write the songs around that. So that's why a lot of Michael Jackson's songs, you have like these little beatbox twangs in it, like, like he would do that, and a lot of that, because it was drum sounds he was making with his voice, and he kept it in when he was singing because that's how he wrote the songs. Also, obviously, you can tell The Weeknd took a lot of influence from Michael Jackson with his singing style, which, again, love The Weeknd, love Michael Jackson, great stuff. So one thing we're going to talk about as well is kind of building the harmony, what a harmony is. So a harmony is basically, you write the melody, right? Melody needs to be catchy, but sometimes it needs a little more. It needs different layers to it, which it's kind of like building a chord with your vocals. So, for example, if I got this note, I might go, but then if you put them together, it's like that note, this note, that note. Ooh, that was a nasty. There we go. Let's show that one instead. So this note. Makes a chord. So that's kind of what you want to do. But with vocals, a lot of times you would do not necessarily in the chord. Sometimes you mix it around a little bit. I have some examples of a band I was in. So I'll show you guys. This is a band, Candor and Cadence. This is the rough copy here that I'll show you guys. This was a song that we had done. This is you can hear the basics of it, but you can also hear the harmonies that I wrote with the song. So this is it with the harmonies. We just put tonight long enough to close my eyes and push these painful memories aside. So you can hear. We just put tonight long enough to close my eyes and push these painful memories aside. So you can hear the different layers of the song. This is what it ended up being after we mixed it and everything. So basically, harmonies are something that you kind of put on top to add, to make it fuller. You don't want to overdo it, though. That's something a lot of musicians do, is they'll get to the point where they'll stack their harmonies. They'll do one harmony, then two harmonies, and they'll get excited and be like, 7 harmonies stacked on top of each other. Oh my God. But if you don't mix it correctly, that's going to sound like garbage anyway. So you want to make sure that when you're stacking your harmonies and mixing them, the other harmonies in the background just kind of, they fade into the background to the point where you can hear them if you're really listening for them, but your brain will process them and hear them regardless of whether. You don't want to keep them all at the same level as your main vocals. Your main vocals need to be what is the core of the song. The harmony needs to be like, the little sprinkles, the little taste, like a cake. You want the cake to be the main layer. But, if you mix in some like strawberry jelly or some icing, you want it to taste, but you don't want the icing to be the only thing you taste or overwhelm the cake. You want the cake to be the main the point, and then a little bit that you can taste that gives it a little spunk, I guess, So for example, I'll do just a quick little thing on here. So let's say like, la, 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 la. So, la, 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 la. So then you can do like a la, 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 la. La, 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 la. It doesn't have to be octaves, or you could do like a lower, like la, 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 la. That's one thing. You also want to keep them like different levels. So you can do octaves, which is really good for stacking. You can do like a higher octave than a lower octave, and then you could do like fifth notes above it, things like that, or you could just mix it up. I like to just mix it up all over the place. I am guilty of sometimes just stacking it all over the place. 3 notes are like 3 layered cake. Although you can tell pretty easily if the flavors work together or not. Exactly. If I was to say like, like, like that's not gonna match, but like, that's one thing, is just mixing together. like I was kind of talking about last time, I wanted to kind of get you guys to recognize whether something fits into a chord, which is where we were going to go with that. So let's say I play this. Now this, I'll play some little keys on top of it. You guys tell me if this matches or not. That sounds good. But then if I were to go, still good, right? But if I were to hit a, so you can tell like whether it's gonna harmonize or not. Harmonies are kind of something that just, you don't really have to know much about music. It just kind of, it's there. Your ears, whether you have a natural ear for music or not, typically you can hear if something doesn't sound right. Your brain's just gonna get, like it's just how it works. And it's all about like the wavelengths, which is one cool thing about tuning a guitar. I'll see if I can do it on here, kind of. So like if I'm playing something like this, for example, you hear that's kind of smooth. But if I play something like this, it's still there. But then when I do this, it's like the wavelengths are kind of not working together, which is something you can really tell when you're tuning a guitar, as I was saying. So this is in tune. Now, as I gradually take it out of tune, you'll hear the wavelengths start to bend out of where it's supposed to be. Okay, so check this out. So then you're here. I don't know what way you can hear that, but you can hear the waves kind of start to match up. So, you got waves that are like this, and then they slowly start to match up, and that's what makes stuff sound good together, is it flows kind of like waves in the ocean. If they're battling against each other, it's gonna crash and do all kinds of stuff. But if it flows, you got a nice little flow going. So that's what really differentiates harmonies and melodies. Melodies are more to catch the attention and to grab the listener's attention, like I said, and harmonies are more to add more to it. A big thing, like I said, you don't want to add too much harmony. And one thing about that is not necessarily just too much harmony in one place, but also too much harmony in a whole song. So, for example, if you're doing a verse of your song, the verse probably doesn't need harmonies. Okay, it might need like a little one here and there. I don't know how to tell if it's in tune, but I can tell it's not in tune. Exactly. So you can definitely hear, like I said, you can hear that if it's an octave. So real quick, an octave is the same note in a different key. So for example, let's see. So this is a G in two different octaves. This is a G and this is a G. Can you hear that? I don't know if you guys can hear that on the piano. Let me turn this up a little bit. So you got this one, and you got this one. Now we're playing them together, it just sounds the same. You can barely tell I'm hitting two notes. The same, and on the guitar, that's always going to be the 12th fret. So on a guitar, your 12th fret is going to be here. You'll always notice because it's got two dots on it. So basically an octave is the same note, just spread apart. So it's gonna sound the same no matter where you play it on the keyboard. You got play them all together. So again, when you're doing a harmony, that's just a harmony like that. So octave harmonies are good for, like I said, if you want to play, if you've got a good melody, like your melody, like I just did, like. That's good for that, but then you can also do. then stack those on top of each other, and then you got like a let's see, where's that at? Then you got 3 on top of each other that kind of mold together. But like I said, as far as like when you're mixing it, you want the lower and the higher to be quieter than that main one, because your brain will still process it, your brain will still hear it, it'll still sound good, but it's not going to be loud like this one, like just noise all over. Like you're not going to want that. And as I was saying with the verse, typically you want your verse to be kind of basic, but what you do with the verse is called stacking. So what you would do with a verse, if you want to stack the vocals, so it would be like what I did earlier, for example. La, 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 la. Stacking would just be la 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 la, and you do that basically the same exact notes over and over about 5 or 6 times. It's not gonna sound any different, but when you do that, it makes it sound fuller. So it's not just one note, it's making it sound fuller, because each one is going to have a slight difference. You know, I've been to the studio before where like the guy mixing basically had to tell me to make it sound different, because I have this issue where I'm not trying to brag, but like when I sing stuff, it sounds exactly the same every time. So he would be like, you need to like mess it up a little bit, like make it sound a little off, because if it sounds a little bit off, it sounds more natural. It sounds more, you know, when you're stacking it, you can turn the ones that are a little bit off down, keep the one that's perfect in the middle. It just makes it sound fuller, more natural, like I said. So like with a verse, you probably don't want to do a lot of harmonies in a verse, because a verse is not something that needs to be like boom, boom, boom. You know, a verse needs to really just, you just want to hear the verse as like the build up to the chorus, the pre-chorus, things like that, the bridge. The chorus is supposed to be, you know, I mean, people listen to music, you know what I mean? Like you want to listen to the lyrics of the verse. The verse is supposed to be there to catch your attention and lead you into what you're getting to. But the chorus needs to hit. So the chorus is really where you want to stack it like crazy, 6 stacks probably, maybe 3 to 5, you know, if you want to get crazy with it, different harmonies on top of the stacks. And just like I said, make sure you're mixing it well to where they're not all at the same level, but at a volume where you know they're there. Your brain's gonna hear it. Your brain's gonna notice the difference. Like for example, like I showed you in my song, you know, if you take the original one I showed you, which was, you can hear they're all at the same volume here. So with that one, I've got the, and I'll wait just for tonight, long enough to close my eyes and push these painful memories aside. But then I've also got, and I'll wait just for tonight, long enough to close my eyes and push these painful memories aside. And then I've got like a higher one that's like, and I'll wait just for tonight, long enough to close my eyes and push these painful memories aside. But then when you play it on the final mix, obviously we turned it down a lot. So it's, so then you have, you know, AI viewers, streamview.com. Don't know what that's about. But so as you can hear, the original one when I wrote it was when I was writing the harmonies, because it was all on my phone and stuff like that, and just on Reaper, which I'll show you guys more about. And then the final mix, we kept all those same harmonies. All those harmonies are in the final version, but we just mixed them to where you still feel that and hear that, the difference. So the verse is more like this. Here's the verse. Oh, wait, hold on. Let me get to the lyrics. So you see there's no real harmonies right there. But as we build up into the pre-chorus, kind of builds up, Take the harmonies back off because we're kind of building up a little bit more. You want it softer. And then as we get to the chorus, we start building a little bit more. Right here, we kick the harmonies back in. They're in the background. That was actually me and another singer. But then for the chorus, this is where you want to stack your vocals and do the harmonies. So you can hear a lot in this one. But as you can tell, they're turned. Well, maybe that's a bad example. I think we didn't do a lot of harmonies on that one. But as you can tell, we added a lot for the chorus. Me and the other vocalists sang with each other. We did do some harmonies. We did stacking. So there's two people singing, harmonies, stacking, more instruments, everything. The chorus wants to be big. You want the chorus to really stick in your head and be the part that is big, which is why you want to add more harmonies to the chorus than you would to the verse and, the pre-chorus and things like that. But yeah, the ending of the song needs a hit, beginning, all that. So, so what do you think? Just in the chat, what do you guys think has a more emotional reaction in general? What would you say? Would you say the harmony? Would you say the melody? I mean, what do you guys think? It's different emotions for each one, because as I said, the melody is the catchy part that really draws your attention, but the harmonies really give that the warmth or the emotion and the impactfulness of this song. So what are you guys' opinions? What do you guys think is the part that's more important? I guess, let's say, do you think it's more important to have a good melody that'll catch your attention, or a good harmony that'll really hit you in a place that you feel it, So one thing I want you guys to do is ask questions, obviously, on live. If you have anything for me right here at the end, I'm gonna add the Discord. Everything's at the bottom. I have the description for the Discord. I have the Discord link and things like that. But I want you guys to make sure you come to the next stream. The next one, I will probably be using Reaper a little bit more to show you how to stack more with Reaper, which I've told you guys again and again. It's free. It's great. It's what I use to record everything all the time. It's great. It's the best program I can think of. A lot of people that mix a lot will say that Reaper is trash and Reaper is this and that, because it is for beginners. I mean, it is. It's what most people use when they're beginning. It's what people use that aren't professional mixers. And I mean, I know some professional mixers that do use Reaper, because once you master it and once you know what you're doing, it's great. But again, you get the people that are charging thousands of dollars to mix and master. They use different programs, they use different things. But for the most part, again, I think it's the best thing to use, especially when you're getting used to these kind of things, when you're getting used to everything. So really the question is not, how many notes can I add? It's what does this song need to communicate the feeling, and sometimes people get too into it. Like I said earlier, people sometimes add too many harmonies because they get, they want to add more, and then it just becomes a big blur and a nasty mix of all kinds of stuff. I moved it again. I liked how you talked about the rhythm can make a big difference on if the melody actually hits. Can we have Reaper for beginners vid? Can we have a Reaper for beginners? Yeah, I'll do that. For the next one, yeah, I will definitely start it out kind of a whole video, kind of teaching how to use, I don't know what's going on in the chat, but a whole video on how to use Reaper, how to get started, how to record, things like that. That'll be my next one. The beginning of it. I'll probably do a 2-part, kind of like this one where I did harmonies and melodies separate. I'll do how to get started with Reaper, how to record the basics, and then I'll teach you things like layering, depending on how long it goes, depending on what I end up getting into. I may do the layering in another video, but just for the next video, plan on having Reaper if you can. Like I said, reaper.com, bing, bang, boom, download it. It's nothing. As I've mentioned before, it will beg you and plead for you to pay for it, to be like, please pay for me. And then you just be like, not today, Reaper. And you just kind of click in the middle, and it'll have a little thing down at the bottom that, like, it looks like it's not going to let you close out of this big, like, agreement close at the a little countdown. It'll be like 9, 8, 7, 6. You just wait for the countdown, and then the close button pops up. Click close. It's free. I've been using it for 20 years and never paid for it. It's more of one of those things where you can pay for it, but you don't have to. Kind of like Wikipedia. But any more questions, any more comments before I hop off this thing? If anybody got anything, drop it in the chat real quick before we end the stream. Hopefully I covered everything for you guys as far as the harmonies and melodies and situations like that. But again, if you have anything that I left out, anything that you guys need to know, drop it in the chat real quick and I will answer the questions beforehand. Otherwise, go ahead and let me move over here. So otherwise, let me know in the comments if there's anything else you guys want to know, and I will answer them next time. Oh, it's gonna get me. Oh! Next time that I'm on here, I'll answer your questions. And otherwise, like I said, I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for checking out my video. Again, make sure to join Vitality Social. Join the Discord. We have Discord, Kick, Twitch, YouTube, all that good stuff. Okay, so hop on our YouTube page, Vitality Social Live, I believe. Oh, yeah, probably. Anyway, thank you guys for joining me. I appreciate you. Love you guys. Have a good day and peace out.